the All-SEC team in basketball is out, and your immediate reaction to that as the Vols prepare for the SEC tournament this week. Again, hit that like button if you haven't subscribed yet. You need to do that. Big special announcement coming up, I believe, by the end of the week. So what are your thoughts on the All-SEC basketball team?
I was actually shocked that Santiago Vescovi got first team, but then I kind of looked down the list and I'm like, okay, I could kind of see this. If you need a guard somewhere, Santiago Vescovi actually somewhat makes sense. Efficient scorer for the overall year. It's weird because we know so many games where he wasn't consistent during the games, but he was. It's kind of like, you know what it is, Dave? It's like you wrote about with Arian Foster last week. Arian Foster wasn't really a fumbler if you really looked at the data when he played at Tennessee. But the times he did fumble were so memorable. And so it was similar to Vescovi. The times he didn't show it were so memorable, but the stats show he was overall an efficient scorer.
Yeah, and then Zakai Zeigler gets some love despite being injured. I was glad to see that. But I still think this Tennessee team can have success without him. As a matter of fact, the same level of success without him, which we still have a hard cap on at being Sweet 16 at best. But if that changes up, I don't think losing Zakai Zeigler, other than the emotional lift, is a huge hit in terms of talent level. You?
No, I don't. The one thing he might be is on defense. And as we did see, he earned All-SEC defense, Zakai Zeigler. That was well-deserved. Probably more than his second team All-SEC. His SEC All-Defense was more deserved. I mean, the guy was just such a pesky defender. Like, it's...
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, he's the type of person that... Zakai Zeigler is the type of player that you hate him if he's on your team and you hate him if he's on the other team. He's going to frustrate both groups, both sides.
Are we still on board with Tennessee should throw the SEC tournament to prepare for the NCAA?
Yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about that more later in the week, but yes, they should absolutely throw it. Some experts are saying that they need to win a game to get to the top 4 seed. I don't think the selection committee thinks that. I think the selection committee has already got Tennessee penciled in as a seed, no matter what happens this weekend.
Lenardi had them as a number 3 seed already.
Interesting. Lenardi probably pays a lot of attention to the brackets. To the conference tournament, though, so we don't know how although he didn't last year, he nailed it. He kept Tennessee in as a 3 seed even after they won the SEC tournament, and he was right because that's kind of interesting. Either way, I don't think this is if he already has him as a 3 seed, then them losing Thursday would knock them down to a 5 seed, and I think your goal is a top 4 seed, right? You think top 4 is fine.
Well, my goal when we first had this conversation 2 weeks ago was the top 2 seed. I think there's a significant difference between 2 and 3 or 4. But I think that's pretty much out of the realm of possibility at this point, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's any way. Because even if they win the SEC tournament, the selection committee is not going to care. So, yeah. Yes, I'm still in agreement. Chuck the SEC tournament.
Yep. And at this point, when you look at Tennessee's basketball team, you see a defensive team in a time that's just not a defensive basketball era. I heard a stat that on Sunday, 18 players. Now I'm going to the NBA, but the games are similar and somewhat as far as what runs true year in and year out. And be sure and hit that like button. We appreciate it. But 18 players scored 30 points or more on Sunday. That's an NBA record in one day. It broke the record that was a month ago. So, that's the trend, and that's the trend in college basketball. And that's something I think at some point that you're going to have to see Rick Barnes either adjust to or maybe be done, because I don't know that that's going to change. Everybody loves scoring. Major League Baseball loves scoring. They're trying to bring in more scoring. Rick Barnes is kind of do you remember the movie that had Steve Carell in it where he played Noah? I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, my gosh. Evan Almighty. That was a horrible movie.
It was a horrible movie, but he's screaming against all of these people that are basically saying this isn't going to happen. I feel like Rick Barnes is that guy, that he is Noah, and that he is saying it's going to rain defense at some point, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon. Portions of the program brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. My distance vision is unbelievable. Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn is phenomenal. Local vision care, whether it's LASIK that I had for my distance vision and getting a tweak for the near vision as well. But Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn cares about you, or they are absolutely phenomenal. And I do think, before we get off the basketball tip, as the kids say, that we need to give Kelly Harper a certain amount of respect, don't we? For turning that whole thing around.
I don't think she turned it
maybe.
around. She got red hot in the SEC tournament, which has happened a lot in the past. It's a tournament. Dennis Felton won it with Georgia in 2008.
Oh my gosh. I remember that like it was yesterday. That was the hurricane or
Yes.
or thunderstorm or tornado that downtown Atlanta. Mayhem ensued. And
It was.
that was in 2008, man. That 15 years ago. Hard to believe.
It saved him from being fired. And guess what? He wasn't a good coach.
No doubt. It was the worst thing that could have happened for Georgia. And they played 2 games on a Saturday.
They did.
It was unbelievable. It was like Georgia's basketball program was doomed by the basketball gods to keep Felton around for another year. They should have been rooting against him. He was done. Everybody I talked to that covered Georgia on Thursday, he was done. And then he hung around for another year and eventually got fired.